What's up, everybody? Welcome to another podcast. I am Jeremy Neal. Today's podcast is going to be talking about my musical influences. And I just want to break down some of the stuff that inspired me throughout my life, whether I was real young or the stuff in the last few years. Let's get into it. So, I started out when I was probably 6 years old. Got an old Yamaha guitar. It only had a few strings on it, and I fixed it up, bought new keys for it, tuners, all the good stuff, new strings. Fixed it up and started playing. Now, my family, we always had jamborees or little get-togethers around the fire. And we would always, my family would always get together, and I would sit and watch. And the first few years of my life there, I was just fascinated at watching my uncles play. And then my cousin, Chris and Jason, and those guys would play. And I was like, I got to get into this. And then I was probably about 9 or 10, and I was asked to play at the Sardinia Founders Day. And Sandy Farley at the time, Sean Farley, great friend of mine, his mom, and my Uncle Wendell got me into this Founders Day thing where it was like a talent show. And so they wanted me to do an Eagles song, and it was called Outlaw Man. So I did that song, learned it. I think we practiced several times. And I was super nervous, and I got up, and I remember seeing my teachers out there in the crowd, and there might have been 50, 60 people. I don't remember. In my head, it was more. And I got up there, and I heard this guy. I think there was somebody playing a violin or something before me. And then I got up and did Outlaw Man. And, of course, I hadn't hit puberty yet, and my voice is real high-pitched, I'm sure, and I think there's a video of it somewhere. I've never been able to find it. My aunt supposedly had it. Unfortunately, she passed. So I did Outlaw Man by the Eagles, and I remember getting a standing ovation and people hugging me and like, you did so good. And, as a kid, you're just whatever. But something in that moment right there changed everything about what the rest of my life would be. I knew I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to entertain people. I wanted to get that reaction. I wanted to see people stand up and clap and yell and scream, and it was a pretty incredible feeling. So yeah, I'm thankful to everybody that was involved, family and friends that pushed me to do it, because I was nervous and I didn't want to do it. And then I kind of, after that, I grew up on classic rock, or what it was known as classic rock at the time, which was Foreigner, Boston, the Eagles, Grand Funk, Bad Company, Led Zeppelin, you name them. All those bands, Pink Floyd especially, probably one of my biggest influences, David Gilmour. And I remember if you hear that, that's the wind. It's like 50-mile-an-hour winds outside off the lake. It's pretty crazy. Hoping the power don't go out. And anyways, so I grew up on the classic rock, was inspired by all that, and my uncles played it, like I said, and then I started picking it up. I started learning from them and my cousins and other people, and then I started teaching myself a lot. A lot of time was spent in the room just learning songs, playing things that I'd never played before, and then I had a keyboard and I would practice on it, and I got addicted to it. I was obsessed. Now, instead of learning scales and getting real into it, I just kind of played with emotion and figured out all that stuff by myself. Then later on, I joined band. I was talked into joining the band, and like school band, that was the elementary school band. I played saxophone. Got voted best band student thing or something. Got a plaque on the wall, and then I gave it up. I quit because it just wasn't for me. And also, what wasn't for me was choir. And I think Mrs. Cole was my teacher back then, and she really wanted me to join choir, and I just didn't want to do it. I wanted my study hall. I don't know, I just wasn't. I was into just jamming in my garage or in my room, on the guitar, on the keyboard, piano, whatever. So time goes by, join a couple little friends of mine, drummers, Terry Schramm, Zach Nichols, a couple other people. Then Josh Kennelty came into the picture, my cousin. And throughout those years, I started writing. But prior to that, it was like 97, 98, I want to say. I was a kid, and I had heard this rock band playing on the radio, and my dad used to have a little gym that he worked out, Neal's House of Power, and these guys would come over, and this guy Matt Jones came over, and he was rocking this music and just out there getting it. And I went out, I'm like, man, what is this? Because I think I like it a lot. Never heard anything like this. It was Metallica's Black album. So I was introduced to that early on as well. So I'm 11, 12 years old. I'm hearing Metallica's Black album. That changed everything. Because shortly after that, we're in the 2000s, and that's when nu metal came around and the other rock that came after that. And I was already into the grunge a little bit, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, stuff like that. So, yeah, it was from classic rock to the grunge and the pop and stuff that was there at the time. I remember like Q102 would play stuff at Lake Winoka Pool, and I'd be going and I'd hear these songs and think, man, they're really good. Sister Hazel and Blues Traveler and stuff like that. So I never really got into country music for whatever reason. I don't know why. My grandma always played it around the house, and I grew up there most of my life. But I always just kind of ignored it. I think Garth Brooks, maybe Brooks and Dunn, and maybe a little bit of Alan Jackson. But other than that, never really got into country music. And I will say Garth had more of an inspiration on my writing than any other country, as far as just, which I don't know if you consider him country or not. He's pop. It is what it is. My mom's favorite, obviously. Never was into the big hair stuff. I didn't care for Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard and all that. I mean, I did listen to Def Leppard, my mom's favorite band, I believe, and I would listen to it quite a bit. And there was some good songs, good stuff. I just never got into it. I never was a big fan of it. So those are my early inspirations of how I developed as a musician and singer and songwriter. Well, songwriting came later in like junior high school, going into high school. I was hugely influenced by Stained, Tool, bands like that, Korn, Limp Bizkit, the nu metal scene. And that's when the writing stuff started happening. Linkin Park. So all of those, and Mudvayne being one, I wanted to sing faster. And the hip hop I was into was Eminem, Dre, NWA, Beastie Boys, Tribe Called Quest, stuff like that was where a lot of the lyrical stuff too. But I really wasn't trying to be a rapper by any means then. I just wanted to write songs. So I wrote the songs that I wrote then, and, you know, a young mind just trying to figure out how to do all that stuff and put poems together and things like that. And I had some really good teachers in school that, you know, Mrs. Angie Bunn and Lee Wilson, my top two, that inspired me to continue doing what I did with music as far as writing goes. And they were English teachers. And they loved writing, and they loved expressing yourself through your writing and art. And Kathy Zerbaugh, my art teacher, always a huge supporter and fan. So, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of great teachers, a lot of great family and friends that helped me. And I was always into a lot of good music at the time. And then I started the band Art of Failure after high school, after I'd already written a couple albums and put demos out. And I'm sure you guys might remember some of them with Wasted, The Cycle, Reach, and What They've Given You. I mean, if you're long-time fans, you would know these songs. And so after that, I started the band Art of Failure, which I've done a video on that. And when the band got started, I started getting more into progressive rock. And so my classic progressive rock would be considered Tool, Pink Floyd, stuff like that, Rush. I got more into Australian rock or European rock, like Carnival, Cog, a lot of bands that you guys may not even be familiar with. Just recently, getting into a band called Port Nor. They are absolutely incredible, a three-piece. I went to see Chevelle a few times back in the day, and I considered them a little more progressive now, like in their writing style. And all prog rock is, like progressive, it's not your average, like, verse, chorus, verse, straightforward music. It's very dynamic. You'll have crazy bridges and different breakdowns in songs. It's not standard, intro, verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, bridge, ending. That's your standard pop song, mainstream song, or whatever. These guys are progressive as far as their dynamic in their music and their writing. And Carnival was my biggest, and then bands like Fair to Midland. And by the way, I'm shouting out a lot of bands. If you guys want to look them up, please do, if you're into rock music. So yeah, that's pretty much my biggest inspirations and influences. So I started writing a lot of guitar parts that were intricate, and from like being inspired by bands like Carnival. And I would say they're probably my favorite one. Dead Letter Circus, another good one. And then I do love progressive metal and just metal in general. So, like Bury Your Dead, Bury Tomorrow. Some new stuff Brendan's been turning me on to lately. Vola, that's progressive metal. But yeah, just a lot of, like August Burns Red was the metal I listened to. I should have wrote all this down, but I've shouted out enough that you guys can kind of see where my influences have always come from. That's pretty much it for today. Just wanted to share with you guys my inspirations and influences that have kind of formed me whole as a musician and as a singer-songwriter. As far as the hip-hop stuff, I mean, there's not a genre of music that I really don't listen to. I've listened to classical music to help relax and kind of jazz stuff. Like I'll throw on some jazz just to have it in the background. Not one of those guys that knows a lot about it, but a lot of stuff that when it gets into your brain, it kind of locks in there, and then you'll go to write. And so I'll pick up a guitar one day, and next thing you know, I'm doing this bluesy or jazz riff. Something's going to come out from just having listened to it. So my advice, just like I was telling my 10-year-old stepson, that he's just obsessed with hip-hop, but only like the new hip-hop stuff, or whatever you call it, rap, trap, whatever, mumble rap. I love all of it. But I'm like, you got to broaden your horizons. You've got to open your mind and listen to all the music. And the only one I've ever struggled listening to is country, and I don't know why. I just don't like it. But majority, I absolutely love, and I'm fascinated with it, and it helps me be more creative. It opens my mind. So broaden your spectrum. Listen to go search for other countries that are putting out the music that you like. I've found so many, like the Butterfly Effect and Carnival and Cog, these Australian bands, and now Sweden, like Port Nor. So broaden your spectrum of your listening. The digital world allows you to do so much more than we've ever been able to do before. And read the dictionary. I've done that too. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Just your language, don't limit yourself. Keep an open mind. Study. Write. Get your thoughts out. Vent. Get it off your chest. Don't keep it inside. At least not for very long. Much love to you guys. I'll see you.